For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Okay, enough of that. Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting on December 2nd, 2013. Call the order, please.
Eiler.
Here.
Nielsen. Nowak.
Here.
Sexton.
Here.
Walagora.
Here. Rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting December 16th, 2013. Call the order, please.
Eiler.
Here.
Nielsen. Here. Nowak.
Here.
Sexton.
Here.
Walagora.
Here. Rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone had an opportunity to read the regular session of December 2nd minutes. No problems? Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes to address your concerns. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address council. If you do, please come up and state your name and address for our records.
Cindy Johnson, 319 West Washington Avenue. I was asked to read this tonight by someone who can't be here, so it should keep me under 5 minutes, but if it doesn't, if you would allow me to finish. But this is to Sam. Sam, this is addressed to you. It said, I so wanted to be here to honor your last council meeting. Unfortunately, I have already left for Traverse City, where I'm having surgery at monthly tomorrow. I cannot think of anything else that would have kept me away. I wanted to tell you once again, publicly, what an honor it has been to serve the city of Alpena with you. Ever since you applied for the city council vacancy and I listened to your thoughtful responses to the interview questions, I knew that you were going to be a wonderful public servant. We were so right in selecting you to fill that vacancy. I want to thank you for always having my back when I asked you if you would be my mayor pro tem. You hesitated, not because you didn't want to step forward, but because you were a humble man and you were not sure if you were worthy of the role. You have been so great in the mayor pro tem chair, in part because you hesitated. You always want to read, research, study, and be informed on important decisions. That is a great quality. You also don't speak unless you have something significant to add. You are not enthralled at the sound of your own voice. You will add, expand, agree, disagree, and only when it hasn't been said by someone else. And you are usually the wrap-up because you never have wanted to push yourself forward. Kudos for this, too. I laugh when people think you were my yes man. Oh, how funny. Yes, we did often agree, especially on values. But did not certainly always march to the same drum. My drum was a big bass drum, with a drum major leading the parade, and yours maybe a snare, or the guy who kept the cadence in the Civil War movies. Understated and quiet. You were a perfect balance for my more exuberant style. From this alliance, we formed a friendship that I treasure. I can count on you. You are dependable, reliable, and present. These are amazing qualities in a friend. Thank you for the many hours we have sat around each other's home wrestling with the issue of the day. I have learned much from you, and I'm a better person because of it. I know you did not want to run for office 4 years ago, and that I pressured you and begged you to do so. It was selfish on my part, but I did not want to be mayor without your constancy beside me in the vice chair position. I also did not want the city to lose you before it was absolutely necessary. Without reciting the Boy Scout oath, you have those qualities. You are honest, ethical, and fair. You bring dignity to any situation. You are a true old-world gentleman. You have been quiet when you could be, and a fierce bulldog when necessary. Since you did not speak often, when you did, you were heard when you did, and you were never hesitant to call a spade a spade. You were often more brave than I was. I would think to myself, go Sam, I can't believe you just said that. You have been an informed, educated leader, and you are widely respected and looked up to. Be proud of the years you have served the people of Alpena. There were many ups and downs, but they were still good years. Alpena will grow and flourish, due in part to your leadership and your vision throughout those hard times. Although you are retiring, undefeated I might add, from public life, I look forward to the many years of friendship to come, whether you are here or in Illinois with your family. Godspeed, Sam. Go with my heartfelt thanks, which I am sure is echoed by many in this community and in this room this evening. Carol Shafto, Mayor, City of Alpena, retired. And if I may add, Sam, these are your own words. I came to council 10 years ago with no personal agenda, no axe to grind. I promised to study the material that came before the council and make the best decision possible with the information available. You have led us with integrity. Alpena is a better community because of your service, and I thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And Carol. I'm sure she'll be watching this someday. Okay, no announcements this evening. Our consent agenda is a bit long, but I'll read this off here. Pardon me. Bills to be allowed in the amount of $509,045.98. B is approval of parades to be held within the city limits for 2014, Memorial Day, 4th of July Parade, Christmas Parade, and Shriners Parade. C is approval of budget amendment to transfer $4,120 from local street fund to major street fund to cover the cost of street construction expenses. D is the approval of budget amendment to transfer $10,000 from DPW's storm sewer capital line item to the sidewalk replacement line item to cover the cost of additional sidewalk work. E is approval of budget amendment to transfer $3,080 from sewer and $2,585 from water fund balances to cover the cost of a refund of tap-in fees from 2012-13. And F is a collection of property taxes for the Alpena Public School District and the Alpena Montmorency Alcona Educational Service District.
We accept the consent agenda as presented.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Eiler?
Yes.
Okay, and this evening we have the recognition of the annual employee awards recipient for the citywide Pride program. And I asked Karen if she would just give a quick description of what that entails or what that is.
The Citywide Pride program is an internal program that began in 2000. The program recognizes individuals in all 5 of our departments. We have administrative, clerical, DPW, police, and fire. Throughout the year, employees give certificates to coworkers who are caught in the act of showing citywide pride. They're recognized because they did something above and beyond their daily job duties for coworkers, citizens, and visitors to the community. So at the end of the calendar year, employees with the highest number of slips receive a certificate of appreciation and 4 hours of personal time. And tonight we want to recognize them.
The first one is Sergeant Billy Gohl, and I called him first because he couldn't attend this evening. He's out of town, so he's with the City Police Department, and the others all come around. Okay. award is presented to Julie Krajniak. I'll read the first one and then the rest I'll just do names. Julie Krajniak, December 1st, in recognition of outstanding commitment to improving the working environment for employees of the city of Alpena and showing citywide pride throughout the year. With administration. No sign language. Steve would like to And next is Lucille Bray from Clerical. We have Brian Beatty with DPW. Didn't see Brian.
Okay.
Probably plowing.
No clearance now.
And then we have Dave Kronk from DPW.
He's plowing too.
Plowing also. And Brett Miller with the fire department.
Thank you all. Thank you.
We have another recognition this evening. I can only say that anything that I would have prepared would pale in comparison to what Carol Shapto had to say about our Sam Eiler. By far, I might add. As a man of few words, I've just always respected Sam since before I got on council, and I still do to this day. He has served as my mayor pro tem as well, and it's just been an absolute honor to have him there. I made him a promise that I did keep in my last appointment as mayor pro tem. He asked and assumed that I wouldn't miss any meetings before he was done, and we made it to the end. So I congratulate you, sir. I'd certainly like to give anyone else on council an opportunity to say some words about Sam as well. We'll let Steve off the hook, and congratulations again.
Just because you're shaking your head no, I'm going to say something about it. And like Matt said, I think Carol had the most insight and stated that wonderfully. But I know for somebody that came in new to council that certainly looked at you as kind of a model of ethics and objectivity and thoughtfulness and really a moral compass for all of us, regardless of what was happening. Even the meetings, and a lot of people don't know where you're quiet, he's got stacks and stacks of these, all these little note cards and all this stuff every night. So I know what you put into it and how much you care about it. And I leave you with this as far as a legacy is concerned, that not one person in this community has told me, thank God that guy's leaving, or it's about time for him to go, or hey, happy to see somebody else. I haven't ran into anybody that has wanted to see you go, and that's a legacy I know I won't leave, and most of I don't have to agree with that. But most of us as elected officials, that's really rare and certainly something that you've earned. So it's been an honor for all of us, and I know we're going to miss you. Thanks, Sean.
I've written Sam all the things I'm grateful for, and there are so many more Sam. But the one thing I can say about Sam that I'm sure most of you know as well, he is a wonderful teacher. And he is one of the first people I talked to before I even took that first step, that first leap. And I've been back to his doorstep many times since then. and I'm very grateful to him. He's a wonderful teacher. I've learned a lot, and it's been a lot easier for me with him here. And I thank you.
Well, I won't say much either, but I always do. I remember the very first meeting when they first came on TV on the public station, and Dave Karsnick was sitting in that seat and announced your appointment, and you came up and spoke here and gave a few words, and thus started the interest back in politics for me. And so I worked really hard in the spring, and one of my goals was I really did want to serve with Sam, just for a few months. You have been a wonderful mentor for me as well. I will miss you up on council, but I am looking forward to your retirement as well for you, just so you can hit the golf course a little bit more often and enjoy yourself. And you've done this community well, and I do appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I say anything?
Yes.
As to my brevity, I go by my guiding light of Mark Twain, who said, better to hold your voice and let them think you a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt. So I think those are words to live by, and brevity is supposedly the soul of wit. So I try to be prepared. My old radio days, have a script if you need one. Say what you intend to say and shut up. That's basically the motto. It's the 10 years have gone by so fast it's hard to believe. I guess when you get older, the years go faster, and that's why they write all the songs about dragging your feet to slow the circles down, things like that. Carols never blew me away. Typical Carol Shafto in Traverse City, waiting for surgery tomorrow morning, and she's thinking of somebody else. It's just, I'm honored and happy to be your friend. And thank you, Cindy, for what you added. And as I leave, I feel so good about this council, what you can do, what you will do, and I leave with no worries at all on that sense. And if you don't know yet, you will know soon what a great city staff we have. But, these are the folks that do the work, and we're part-time city employees doing the best we can. And I think you'll do very, very well. Thank you all. I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you.
Can we adjourn?
Yeah, we got just a couple
of things.
Just a couple. Sam's not off the hook yet. All right, now we're on to our public hearing. This is for the option to opt out of odd year November elections. So I'll open the meeting up to open public hearing, and I guess I could have noted that at the beginning of the meeting, that if anyone wanted to address the council on that specific matter, you do, again, have that opportunity now. If you do so, please come to the mic and state your name and address for our records. Oh, is there?
From West Washington. Yes, I'm your entertainment this evening.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
She's well aware of it.
I just have a few thoughts on this, and I thought long and hard. I've asked a lot of questions, and I've researched. So, the need to save money is important, but the right for people to vote in odd-year elections, which makes a difference in the lives of people in our community, is important. More important than money that this change would save. General purpose for odd-year elections is to give citizens the opportunity to go to the polls and vote for nonpartisan seats with any millage that may be sought or renewed. On our current tax bill, we have a millage for the library, the senior citizens, the hospital, the ambulance, the veterans, recreation, and recycling. These issues matter to us locally. Joining our local nonpartisan election with state and federal elections, in my opinion, is a mistake. People running for state and federal government do not care if our community has a thriving library, which offers a variety of valuable programs to our citizens, or that our schools have the facilities they need to successfully educate our children. Combining election cycles will cause important local issues to be drowned out by big money and partisan politics. It's these local issues that aren't always sexy, but affect our day-to-day lives in a very real way. These issues deserve their own forum, where they can be given the attention that they truly deserve. You on council have all run for office and have been successful. No one knows better than you how tough campaigns can be. Getting your message out, raising money, putting out yard signs, meets and greets, forums, going door to door, and abiding by all the elections required and demanded by the state. It's a lot of work. If you're suddenly thrown into a state and federal election cycle, you will have to fight harder to be heard and to raise money from the same limited resources everyone else is vying for. This will make running for local office much more difficult. This will also negatively affect countywide proposals. I understand that off-year elections can still be held, but the entity that seats the millage will have to pay the entire cost of the election. For example, the school system is currently starting to organize with the intent to ask voters for building improvements in 2015. If we eliminated odd-year elections, what effects does this have on the school's budget? Local entities that rely on millages to fund their operations will have to waste even more valuable resources to get their message out if they are forced to campaign during state and federal election seasons. Such a scenario is a detriment to the community. I can honestly say that running a successful write-in campaign for city council may have been impossible in the clamor of partisan state and federal elections. Someone said to me, "What does it matter? You will have the advantage in the next election as an incumbent if you decide to run. Or you will get another year tacked onto your term as a council member. I don't want to have an edge in the next election because I'm an incumbent if I decide to run again. I would like to be elected because people think what I am doing is in the best interest of the city. If I think only how it may affect me, I am not looking out for the best interests of the city. We can choose to end odd-year elections at any time, and it would take effect after December 31st, the year it is adopted by this council. There is absolutely no monetary benefit or any other benefit for that matter to end odd-year elections this coming year. It's 2014. It's an even-year election cycle. We should take time to ask more questions, get input from the public, and not ask for that opinion a few days before one of the biggest holidays of the year when people are too busy to really pay attention. The law is vague, and once you opt for ending odd-year elections, there is no clause to opt out. We should slow down and make sure we have as many questions answered as possible to make an informed decision before we rush into something that could end up being a big mistake. And those are my opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'm John Yake, 119 State Street. Well, I disagree with Cindy. I think we should have moved the elections to even-numbered years. It would save the taxpayers money, and you have a higher turnover of voters. You always have a higher turnover of voters when you have federal or state elections. You get more people out and more people voting. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'll close the public comment and go back to the report.
And basically,
Yes.
this is the third time we've brought it before council. We did have a public hearing. I've received no written comments. And then other than the two comments from the citizens, we've received nothing else. There's pros and cons, as I've outlined. Obviously, labor is going to be saved, and cost savings for an election. So every time a special election, such as a millage or the schools would have one, if we opted out, it's going to save us, I told you, approximately $10,000. We'd still have to have an election, though, if they do opt to do it in an odd year. But the cost would be theirs instead of the city taxpayers. And it is true that we do have a much higher turnout in the even year elections. Obviously, the governors, the presidential elections, so there's good and bad on both sides. So and yes, we can opt in at any time in a year. And once you do opt in, though, you cannot opt back out.
Just as a clarification, currently if the library and the school system and council are on one ballot, we pay the bill.
Correct.
So if they did opt to have an election in an odd year without us, then they'd be stuck with.
Correct.
How do you want to start?
I guess I'll start.
Give us your thoughts, you do?
I guess most of my comments are similar to what Cindy stated. You know, obviously, yeah, we save money. And it would be at the expense of the school district and the library and other groups like that may struggle financially even more than we do. Now, my biggest concern to move it is to have them in odd years it's so we can focus on Alpena and we can focus on local issues. It's to bring attention to the people that we want to serve or to the issues that are important to us. My concern is we would just get lost in the shuffle of state and federal issues. The amount of propaganda, and we all know this, that you receive from a state campaign or a national campaign is overwhelming. For a city issue, we might be able to send out one piece of paper and mixed in with 40 for this senator and 50 for that senator and 50 for this issue. So, you know, I think it's worth it to be in that odd year so we can focus on ourselves and take a look at our needs. Beyond that, I don't really feel right tacking an extra year on. I just ran for 4 years. Cindy Johnson just ran. She hasn't even sat up here yet. I wouldn't hand her a year, no offense. You know, we have several council members that are on their first term that haven't served long. So I guess if I run 4 years, personally, I wouldn't tack on a 5. I wouldn't feel right about that. I think probably more important, though, is to have issues and those odd years that we can focus on us and not get lost. Carrie mentioned it, and Mr. Yost mentioned, yeah, we do have a higher turnout. But a lot of that turnout is interest in federal and state issues and not so much, you know, localized. So, and it isn't just about us. You know, we do have to keep in mind the groups that tack onto those odd years with us. And part of the reason they do that is so they can save the money. And as a parent, I don't want the school system to fork over that money in that odd year. I feel better really it comes from the city. So I guess that echoes a lot of those same comments, but I wanted to make sure that those got out as well.
My thoughts on that are kind of the opposite. And what I've done, because I kind of struggled the same way, is that with what Sean said, is like, you know, sometimes it feels odd to be tacking on an additional year or asking for that. But I observed the council and have experienced that there is no kind way to cut. And you've all experienced in what we've had to go through with cuts. This is a way for council to actually add an extra year of service that we're going to give to the community and save potentially $10,000 every other year. What I've done, because I've struggled with this issue, is I went to the folks in Alpena. I posted it on a Facebook page that I host and asked for comments. I've asked everybody to the point of, I think when I would see anybody randomly in a store, if I saw you in Walmart, I was going to ask you, what do you think your opinion is on this thing? What would you like to do? And I guess the best comment to kind of summarize it all was that we do have new people on here. We're newly elected. Susan and I in February, Sean and Cindy in November. With the new council, it's the right time to make that move to save the city the money and go to the even year. I don't believe that we would lose the local issues in the bigger elections. I agree with something that Sam said a couple weeks ago when he said it was a long ballot, and I believe, Sam, and if I'm misquoting it, please correct me, you flipped it over and that one passed with flying colors. There was an agenda on there. And from what I understand, Alpena is a very informed voter. They do their research on all their issues. They know what's going on locally. And I honestly don't believe that it would be a detriment to local issues if we decide to go in to even year elections. Just my opinion, and from what I've got to tell you, I did not hear one negative comment when I asked, and I bet you I probably asked anywhere from 50 to 75 different people. And so that poll told me alone the way that I should vote. Just to let you know.
Mark, were those people aware that that cost would come at the expense of the school system either?
I think they're aware that there were, I said, you know, we talked more about the library and some of the school systems and stuff. Some of those were brought up. Can I answer for everyone to say they were all aware of that? I couldn't. I really honestly couldn't say that they're aware that that was going to be at that expense. But, you know, for the city-based issue, that was what they were looking at, is that they said, you know, there's a lot of times on these elections that we have a, you know, what do you call it? Searching for the word, but. Anyway, I lost my thought, so. But it's one of those things, I don't think we're gonna lose, and I don't think they were 100% aware of that, but the savings for the city kind of overwhelmed, you know, what they thought would do, going to that, we would gain that, you know, 100,000 over 20 years, basically.
Is it my turn?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry if I jumped in.
I was elected for 4 years, and I try my best to do my best, because I said I would. I believe that this group needs to maintain the bipartisan, or the nonpartisan rather, the nonpartisan function of the group to do the best for the community. Every word I hear is potential, potential, if there's an election. Well, if we all group together, we might could save some money. And I understand that. $10,000 is a chunk of change. But in the grand scheme of things, look at the budget and think about it. It's perhaps and potentially losing to some of the finest organizations in our community, losing what they need the most is our tax dollars. I mean, they need us to support them. There is no penalty for waiting. There is no penalty for holding off until we've researched better, until we've talked to other people, until we see how it truly will impact the community. Not potential, not maybe, but potential. I am a great supporter of the school system. I fight with my children to come through Alpena Public Schools. I could not turn my back on them for a thing like this. And again, $10,000 is a lot of money, and sounds like a lot of money, but look at the big picture. Is it really that much money? And this is a potential idea. No harm in waiting. We can opt in anytime, but once we're in, we're in. So I think we need some more study, some more thought. I'd like us to talk about it more and investigate a little bit more. Thank you.
I was gonna ask you to say something, but I was told you would be abstaining from this vote, so I wanted you, so I can allow you to say anything, on the, if that is your intent.
Yeah, I was going to ask my colleagues to allow me to abstain for the reason that I am an election inspector, and my wife is an election inspector, and you might say we profit by having as many possible elections as we can. That's not exactly why we went into this. But, you know, this is an issue, if I may.
So, well, you understand that I can't allow you to comment on it as a councilman if you're going to abstain.
Well, I can't abstain unless you allow me to. I was thinking we might want to wait until the next meeting and have Cindy vote. If this, I don't know if it's going to end up 2-2 without me or not, but such a clear and cogent argument can be made for either side, and it's hard for them.
Do you see that as a conflict of interest?
I do. I mean, the policy says any member that, in this case, will benefit directly from a vote, either yes or no.
Could either way.
Abstain.
Yeah.
Correct.
If there are fewer elections, we may need more training. And
Correct.
So
And
I would
Sam's
not
wife as
vote.
well benefits, so, I mean, there's, I don't want to say it's a double whammy, but,
So
yeah,
someone would
there's-
move to allow Sam to abstain from the
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that particular item? Call the roll, please.
Noah,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Yes.
You're out, sir. I gave it considerable amount of thought, more in the last several days than I did earlier on. And I understand where everybody's coming from. I understand Cindy's comments thoroughly, and what you guys have had to say. We're often looking for somewhere to cut. Every time budget time comes around, we're looking for something to cut, whether it be a yard waste pickup or what have you, or bigger things. And we all dread the inevitable layoff that comes to mind every time we have budget cuts and things of that nature. So when someone drops, approximately $10,000 every other year onto your lap, it's hard to ignore. When we have a responsibility to the taxpayers to use their money wisely, so to speak, I have a little bit of trouble understanding or agreeing with that concept that it's our responsibility to use the taxpayers' money to hold elections for other entities like the school system, the library, or anybody else. I understand where you're coming from, and it's good. It's a much larger combined amount of money for us that we have to hold these elections than it is for a smaller library, school system, what have you. But as an elected official for the taxpayers of the city, I'm struggling a little bit with agreeing on whether that's relevant for what we're doing, although I do understand it. And the other note was, staff responsibilities. We're also given an opportunity here to alleviate some staff responsibilities. Every other year, they will have less to do during that time period where they're doing everything that Karen outlined that they have to do during an election cycle. So that whole time period, they could be doing other things, because we all know that one person's doing 5 people's jobs now. So I kind of went in that direction with my thought track as far as how I wanted to address this and what my vote might be. Karen just said how long ago we first brought this up. It was
July, I think, my first memo.
in July was the first memo, was the first time when we brought this up, and it's December now. And we spoke about it at our last meeting. When you say, well, we need more time to look it over, to think it over, to talk to people, from July to December, we had all of that time. Did I go to Brett Holcomb and ask him how he felt on the school system level? No, I did not. Nor did he contact me and say, or any of us, and say, hey, if you guys go to even number, this is what it's going to do to the school system. Nor did the library approach any of us. Sometimes it's a whose responsibility is it to reach out to the other? Is it their responsibility to reach out to us? It's been in the paper, it's been on the radio that this decision was coming up. That's pretty much where I'm at with those discussions, and I guess I would question if we put this off, what are we going to do? What are we as a council, or are we as council people going to do between now and the next time it comes up that we didn't do from July to now? I also looked, did some internet research as far as what are other communities doing, because that's always, I don't always want to do what every other community is doing, but we're several communities, both in Michigan and California, are because they evidently changed their law this year as well, are doing the same thing, going through the same things that we are. Their debates were almost identical, with the exception of I didn't read anything that in anybody's minutes or any news reports that there was any discussion about the smaller entities, so to speak. That was something that I didn't see a whole lot of. What I saw a whole lot of is saving money, saving time. There was some discussions about losing the benefit we have of running in an off year where we can put ourselves out as candidates. You put yourself out there, and to be honest with you, during an election year, it'd be tough because now not only are you struggling to get your voice out there when all the legislators and everybody else and the governor and everybody else is out there, but at the same time, I'm going to be asking somebody to put a sign out, having absolutely no clear idea sometimes as to whose sign I'm going to be posted next to. It might be for a state representative that I don't particularly agree with, and then now my sign's going to be next to theirs, and so automatically everybody's going to be, oh well, he's I won't name any names, of course, but he's must agree with Smith or whoever. I kind of, I thought about that. I thought about that almost immediately as a candidate. But there again, that happens already. That happens already. We see it just in this past election. You saw, Cindy and Sean's signs together at different places, and whoever ran at other different times. So, and myself included when I ran. So you don't always have that option anyhow. And I got to wonder whether that was just a personal issue that I had as a candidate, or whether that was even relevant when we're still talking about $10,000 every 2 years, and the staff's responsibility, and the fact that that when we asked Karen what her professional comment was on it, is that staff prefers that we go to this. So I play a lot of that into where I'm going with it, and I would just as soon not it be one of those issues where we push it off until the next year, the next council, the next people, and then there's another election, and then those people had to wonder, why didn't they just do it? So I'm pretty much for it. I haven't seen a real argument anywhere that convinces me that it's not worth the amount of money that we'll save. And 10 grand isn't huge when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar budget, but 10 grand is 10 grand, and I'm just not sure if the argument against it is really worthwhile or overcomes what we can save. So
money's first. Why can't it be 3? Is there any rationale that they gave us?
For your term?
Right, like in the memo, you said we had to go 5, we couldn't shave a year off. Did they give a rationale? Or
That's
is it
just state law.
Yeah, state constitution provides that no elected official's term shall be shortened in any way, shape, or form.
And it's just going to be for one cycle if you did go that way, and then you'll get back on your 4-year terms.
I guess I never really thought, you guys brought that up, and of course nobody wants to sit here and vote themselves into another year on their term, but I don't know, for me, time goes by so fast that quite honestly, a year doesn't seem that.
And that's what really caused me to struggle with this too, is, I didn't want to vote myself in for another year, and it could be easily construed that, but I'll tell you what, after talking to as many as I have, that's really truly what it was for me, is, you go to your citizens and you try to be their voice as best you possibly can, and for me, that was the overwhelming factor that I heard, and, some of the comments that I received back, were that it's worth the money for the city. We've been cutting for a long time, and if we can generate some additional funds, they wanted to hear that voice being heard, so I'm here for that voice.
What is so you put in your report that if we decide now, it takes effect in 2014, but we don't have an election in 2014.
Correct. And you won't have one in 15.
And
then.
so we wouldn't,
So you're not saving.
or 15.
You'd save on 15. Yeah. Because then 2016 would be your first election.
So given that, if we don't, let's just say that we don't decide now, and we wait, as Sam suggested, and you shouldn't have, that we wait until we have a 5-member council, even next month or once we pass December 31st, it really doesn't matter what. We basically have until December of next year to make a decision, but if we made that decision in sometime in 2014, it would still be made early enough to affect the net. It wouldn't be made early enough to affect, because it doesn't go into effect until after December 31st of the year that you decide. Am I right, or am I getting a little lost in my calendar?
If he decided in 2014 by December,
Yeah,
then 2015, there wouldn't be an election, but 2016 would be, would that be correct? 2016 would be your first even year election.
Correct.
So in a sense,
Whoever is up in 2015.
which would be the same group.
which would be the same three that would be up anyhow. You and I and Susan.
So that would be your one extra year. So then, because we can't shorten it, so.
Right.
It'd have to be one extra year.
And we would still be able to make that. So if we made the decision in 2014, it would take effect basically January 1st of 2015, and so we wouldn't have that election in 2015.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. So that's a little bit more comforting. Something was telling me that we would have to wait an entire another cycle of elections.
Well, the bad part is if you did it in 2015, you already had your election in November, and then you did it by the end of December, so then you're gonna wait until 2018 to start it. So it's those odd years that make you wait a year.
So, if I understood that correctly, it's 2016, if we make it next year, then it would still be pushed back. It wouldn't have an effect.
Your 2015 you would not have. If you do it
Yes, if we do it in
2014.
2014, all right, I just want to make sure I'm on
Yep.
that side.
Either this December or next December.
Mm-hmm.
Both would be, 2015 would be gone. You would not have an election then. It would start in 2016.
You know, and
Right.
I would, you know, even though I am for this and Sam is abstaining and myself, it's like, you know, the one thought that I have is that I truly feel Cindy should have a voice in this as well. Even, you know, we could, you know, we could say that even if we push it back that year, that would give her a chance to join council and have a voice in this, you know. It's a tough decision, and myself is that I would not have a problem with that. I mean, we could settle it tonight, or we could put it back. And I understand your concerns, Mr. Mayor, in saying that, you know, we've had since July, and I strongly feel that, you know, you understand my position of the feedback I've gotten, but I honestly feel that, you know, that candidate should have a voice as well.
Not suggesting this, but throwing it out there. Is this something that people should vote on instead of us? Was that ever a consideration, or?
This is what
is that not
the
typical?
state law, this is what they have passed. It's an election law.
That wouldn't be something we would typically put to the voters to say.
We didn't
this
even
would
have
be
to have a
okay.
public hearing. So we did a public hearing, and what they want, the state wants, is if we do opt to do it, they want a resolution. State law could change again,
Yep.
so,
I think the thing that bothers me the most is there's no going back.
right.
There's
Sure.
no going back.
Sure.
You can't opt out. If we see that it doesn't, in fact, impact our local concerns, the things that are important to us, you can't take it back. And, you know, truly, not everybody who would like to serve in the community has the means to compete, the money, the time, to compete with some state candidates and some of the issues of the state. You just get lost in the shuffle. I think that's important to me. That's important that we're heard locally, because look at this issue. This is a pretty important issue. And as you said, nobody has contacted you. And you didn't contact anybody else, and it's just kind of being swept along. And it just doesn't feel right.
And there really isn't a
It's a very
hurry.
tough one. I
Well,
mean,
it is,
There's not really
particularly
a
when you
hurry.
are elected, and then we say, oh yeah, we're elected, and so now we're gonna get another year. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and
Just-
it's a little more comforting knowing that none of the election cycles are affected if we don't resolve this evening. I was my earlier math had us having to, that if we didn't decide now, it would be like
Yes.
an entire cycle again before, so, so it looks as though we want to wait. I don't want to keep discussing this for
No.
too much longer.
No,
If
no,
it
I
seems
agree.
to be agreed that we would just wait, then we'll take no action on it this evening.
Table it until next.
Talk about, maybe putting it on an agenda, probably not in January if it's not necessary. If we just want to bring it back up again later than January.
Well, you could also invite public comment, through the paper or something, through the website.
Yeah.
Just say that, it was tabled for tonight and that the city wishes public comment
Yes.
from any and all interested, and see
Yes.
whether we get anything through the email or any letters or things of that nature.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
So we'll table it and request public comment.
Need a motion for that?
Pardon? Yes, please.
I would make that motion.
Second?
And we just won't set it, I'm sorry, we just won't set a specific month that we'll bring it back up. We won't set one now, we'll just wait and bring it back up when you and Greg feel that there's a good
We can
agenda
do it
that's
in
not packed.
maybe February.
February, March.
February, March, whatever, okay. I'm ready, sorry.
Okay. Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye?
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Okay. Report of Officers, Municipal Council Compensation Committee recommendation. And this evening, we have Dennis Schultz from that committee.
My name is Dennis Schultz. I am one of 5 members on the committee. Joanne Gallagher is our chair, and Jay and I are taking her place tonight because she's ill, and it takes 2 of us. Mike Ferguson and Al Moore are also on our committee. And I think the proposal is before you. I'm only here to answer any questions and to move you forward. There were a couple of reasons that we made the changes that are a little significant. We reduced the compensation for meetings and increased the base pay. The net increase we calculate to be about 3%, but this follows a 5% reduction in prior years. The goal is transparency. Our general feeling is that you're already contributing your time and you should be compensated at some level. And your meeting attendance, while we think should be tracked, shouldn't necessarily reflect money. That's the thinking. If I lied to you, Jay is here to correct me. Any questions? We thank you. We appreciate all you do.
I wasn't waiting to die, Dennis. I have a quick question. I guess I was curious at the committee's opinion, or if this came up, with your comfort level of, say, a council member goes to 40 out of 50 meetings and another goes to 6 out of 50. Were you guys comfortable with the compensation being the same, or was that?
Yes, what we observed was over the years, and I don't know how many years have been out, but quite a few, I think. And at one point, we were asked to reduce the wages, and we did. But the following year, the cost of the council went up. And that was sort of one of the issues. And the other one was, you have certain, we pay, I think, for board of review, I think, because that's a requirement. So I think we generally think, all of us volunteer. I volunteered this afternoon. I volunteer at a meeting tomorrow. I was on the hospital board for many years. Compensation in this case is one of the rare things in the community, but justified, we think. We don't object to that. It's sort of an extraordinary job, as the mayor said earlier. You have a pretty significant budget that you're responsible for in the community, so it's a little different case. But I think that's our thinking. You didn't run for the office to be paid. It's more of a stipend to offset some of your costs. Kept track of your costs, you wouldn't be here. Even if Sam isn't Sam. No, I have a saying, I don't know Mark Twain, but my son told me to be bright, be brief, be fun. Good. Other questions?
I just want to say that I appreciate the volunteerism that went in to compiling
You're-
this
you
document,
know,
a good thought.
You're all sitting there for the same reason and more, so.
Good job.
You're welcome. I'll make sure Joanne knows you appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dennis. And for clarification on the meeting that they left in, board of review is by charter, has to be compensated. So, I'm sorry, were you gonna,
No, we just need a motion in a second.
okay.
I so move.
Second. I'm back in
And
now,
that's
right?
to, yeah, that's to accept the recommendations.
And should that be read? Should I read that? What it is?
Could, yeah,
None of
put it
us
in.
did, I'm looking for it. There it is. Okay, their action item from that and unanimously approved the mayor and council wage of 2014-15. Motion was made by Al Moe, seconded by Mike Ferguson, that the mayor be compensated a rate of $6,000 per year beginning January 1st, 2014, $6,500 per year beginning January 1st, 2015, and council members be compensated at a rate of $4,000 per year beginning January 1st, 2014, and $4,500 per year beginning January 1st, 2015, and that these rates include all meetings as a normal part of positions held, and that all board meeting fees currently compensated with the exception of board of review be removed. Board of review meetings should be paid on the following schedule. Less than an hour is $5. Excess of 1 hour but less than 3 hours is $30. Attendance in excess of 3 hours but less than 6 hours is $60. And attendance in excess of 6 hours is $90. It certainly seems to be a lot easier mathematical way, if you've looked into the history that was provided to us, of compensation, just varied radically throughout the years for annual compensation. So compared to the historical, not only going back to 2004, but even in the last couple of years myself, I'm completely comfortable with what the committee has brought to us. I don't know if anybody
Makes more
else
sense.
has any other comments. I know there was a lot of discussion before about people going to a lot more meetings. In January, when Cindy sits up here with us, we will go over our meetings, and that's something you definitely want to keep in mind is the time that you have allotted your normal business day for what meetings that you go to. And I never felt like I was gonna make a meeting just so I could make my $50 or whatever it happened to be at the time. So I certainly doubt it'll alter anyone's commitment to meetings as to whether they're being compensated for it.
I think Dennis made it pretty clear, if you ran to be on council for the money, you better get yourself a day job. It doesn't work out that way.
No, it's not why we do this.
So if we're ready? We're ready?
Walagora?
Aye.
Tyler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Thank you. Treasurer's financial report, July 1st, 2013 through November 30th, 2013.
This report shows that we should be at about 41.67%. Our revenues in the general fund are at 61.2 or 61.02. That doesn't mean that we're receiving more revenue than we expect. It just means that most of our property tax revenue has come in And so that's what drives that number up. As far as expenses, overall in the general fund, we're running higher than the prorated amount. We're at about 46.54%. Again, this is because of those one-time large expenses such as our pension contribution, which is over $600,000. Our insurances and some of those lump sums have already hit in the expenses, so that's driven that up a little bit. So there's no surprises in the budget. We're doing very well, and we also have our CAFR almost done, probably another week, and that will be complete. And we came in very, very well. Our expenses, everybody kept under budget, so we'll come in with a good, strong, or we have come in with a good, strong balance to start this fiscal year. Are there any questions on that?
Receive and file.
So moved.
Second.
Tyler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye. Okay, no communications and petitions. Unfinished business is beach debris investigation. Rich Sullinger is here.
This, excuse me, this has been an issue, not by the presently sitting council, but for many years. It's been a topic that has been discussed. And predominantly, it centers around the black debris water that is adjacent to the shoreline. Council asked us late summer to investigate what options were to try to identify this, resolve it if possible, and basically make it go away, make our beaches look a lot better. On September 27th, Gregson and I met with Annette DeMario and Marty Boot of Environmental Consulting and Technology to discuss the issue with the material deposited at the shoreline of our beaches. This company was recommended to District Health Department number 4 by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, who in turn recommended them to me as having extensive experience in beach remediation plans. The meeting went very well, and the issues we are facing were presented to them, an extensive discussion regarding their thoughts on the source matter. Obviously, they cannot identify the source without further investigation, but various concepts and ideas were discussed. Following the meeting, Annette DeMario, Marty Boot, 2 District Health Department number 4 employees, and I visited the beach to look at the material. Unfortunately, the material washing up along the beach was much less than during the summer. It was mostly plant material, which is different from what we see during the summer. They said this was the end of September, a lot different type of debris in the water, and it was nowhere near as dense as it is during the peak summer months. As the cost for this type of evaluation was unknown, staff requested that ECT develop a scope of work, outline the services to be provided, and costs associated with these services. On November 7th, 2013, the City of Alpena received the attached proposal from ECT for investigation of the beach debris. The proposal is thorough and detailed with regards to services that ECT proposes to provide, and the cost for those services are lower than was anticipated. ECT has offices located throughout the Midwest, with 6 offices located in Michigan. They perform services for the Michigan National Guard at Camp Grayling facility, as well as remediation projects under the Clean Michigan Initiative for the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. This firm was identified by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality to District Health number 4 staff in Alpena with regards to beach cleanup activities and remediation efforts, thus the justification for contacting them. The cost proposed to provide the beach debris investigation totals $13,300. This exceeds the limit established within the City Council Policy Statement 18 on purchasing. And I've attached the sections of Council Policy Statement number 18. And predominantly, it just says that except as provided under sole source procurement or emergency procurements. Professional services shall be procured in accordance with this subsection in excess of $10,000. And it's either statement of qualifications, public announcement for formal request of bids, as a method to solicit that information. As the cost for the proposed services exceeds the $10,000 limit as established in Council Policy Statement 18, City staff is requesting a variance from Council Policy Statement 18 and City Council authorization and approval of the services contract with ECT. The justification for these variances is as follows. Due to the nature of the work needed, city staff could not develop an adequate scope of services to request proposals on. As a defined scope of services could not be developed, we could not ensure what the cost would be. Cost proposal is over but relatively close to the Council Policy Statement 18 limit for professional services. The firm identified, ECT, has 6 offices located within and throughout Michigan. ECT has performed work for the Michigan National Guard and Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. The ECT was referred by the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality to District Health Department Staff Number 4. And the proposal is detailed and thorough with costs proposed for each phase of it. Based on the above, it is my recommendation to City Engineer that City Council approve the contract with ECT and a variance from Council Policy Statement 18. This project is not included in the current budget, but has been identified by City Council during meetings this past summer and fall as a priority project they wish to have investigated. As funding has not been established for it, we have no other projects which can be delayed. Funding to accomplish this would need to be taken from fund balance.
Are you ready for questions?
Sorry, I was just looking over a little bit more of the details. Go ahead, Sam, please.
Rich, does the scope of the investigation include the effluent, or whatever you call it, comes out of the sanitary sewer system and during rain events, as well as what might be growing underwater?
Yeah, they would look for, they would do a shoreline assessment, and then they would also do a bay assessment and look at the various outfall activities. Be it the storm sewer, our wastewater plant discharge, those would all be investigated. I mean, it's no, I don't think it comes as any surprise that during a rain event, anything that's lighter than water, cigarette butts, leaves, whatever, the balloon that's deflated, whatever it may be, is going to float and flush out the system. You are going to get that debris that washes out. Now, there are techniques to stop that. Very expensive, and it would have to be installed many, many places throughout the city to stop it. But they will look at that. Whether that's the question. Is that a source for what we are seeing on the beach? I can't answer that. They couldn't answer it at that time. We proffered up ideas, that for many years this was a lumbering industry, and a lot of the bark and debris was just pushed out into the lake and sank. Is with the lower water tables, is that recurring? Is that what we're seeing on the beach? And those are things that would need to be investigated.
I'm thinking back to Mr. Gorski's presentation, and I'm sure any one of the people on that side of Blair Pier, Mr. Gorski, McCoy, Dr. Tony Skiba, would cooperate in any way they would need. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been an issue with me for forever. The beach, just this year, several people emailed me pictures. I mean, it was like right before the 4th of July, the beach was black. And it's a significant issue with our economics and everything. We invite people to come down, and then we got this stuff on the beach, and we've discussed it before as far as where it comes from. I like where they're coming from with the services that they intend to provide, with the imagery of where it comes from and things of that nature and what they can find. I guess my only question is, even though they were recommended to us by these other entities, do we know that there isn't someone else out there competitive that can do this exact same thing?
And I have no doubts that there's many firms out there.
Right.
Looking at a couple things. Looking at their credentials. I mean, they've worked all the way from Everglades. They kind of take the swath right down through the middle of the country. They've done remediation work in the Everglades all the way up through the Midwest states into Michigan. And they have, like I said, 6 offices in Michigan. Traverse City's probably the closest one. I also looked at the scope of services that they had proposed. Can we now, lack of a better term, pillage their scope of services and write one and go out? Yes, we could. Probably at the cost of, because their information is now out, their costs are now out and published.
Right.
And that was the thing, is we as staff, and I think without this type of technical experience, background, there was nobody on staff here that could write what a scope of proposal should be for that, and be thorough and not miss something.
I think also with Rich and I don't remember who else may have been involved, Mike may have been involved in some of the discussions too, is once we had it, then we looked at it and said, does it appear to be a reasonable cost for what they're intending to do? And that was, our feeling was that, yes, it was. And that, now, if we did try to go out to bid, which would have its own difficulties in doing, put it out, I don't even want to say bid, I would say for proposals. Our feeling was what we were getting, would be getting from this firm, and based upon their past experience and the recommendations that were coming in terms of what their work, that we felt that it just justified moving ahead with them, even though it would require the variance on our purchasing policy from you. So, we looked at it, made a judgment call, and I'm recommending that to you.
And it was not get a variance past carrot, it's like pulling teeth. And that, that wasn't, we don't take this lightly.
No.
I mean, the purchasing policy is there, and we try to abide by it. It's these rare and odd circumstances, and that's the only reason that we are requesting that variance. Yes, sir.
I believe I read, it seems that the issue is more prevalent in the summer and with more complaints in the summer. So I think I read in here that they will continue the test into the summer. How far into the summer?
I think that it's really going to be dependent upon the reload that we see down there. If we see it in May and June, they may be able to get a good handle on it. If it makes more sense that we're seeing it in July and August, we may have to extend it into there.
It seems that that's when most of the complaints are later in the summer. So it would be a shame for them to come in and do the study and then have the majority of the complaints come in 2 months after they leave.
And that's why when we were down there in September, it was very obvious that while there was some debris, it was much different. You were seeing a lot of dead plant material from the lake shore, which would be typical for a late fall season. So it wasn't what we typically see in midsummer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't, I think what we have to gain from this is way worth more than what we might spend on it. You always have to wonder and hope that they find something that can be fixed. But we can't decide whether we can fix it or not if the question always remains as to what is it and where did it come from.
That's right. We have to determine that.
We have to determine that. I think for me, the price is well worth it. We had a lot to read over the weekend, and I have to tell you that I didn't really read the proposal until late this afternoon. And I did read it, and it's everything. It's everything that I had discussed. I don't know, maybe a year ago. We did have a brief discussion about the beaches. I think it probably comes up maybe every year. I don't know, but so we did talk about it and about getting rid of it. What I didn't see, and maybe they will be able to do that, I was reading through their tasks again just real quick, as far as they intend to, do a shoreline assessment, to make it brief, a bay assessment with the imagery, write a report, and then have a preliminary, and then they have a preliminary schedule, 107 months. We anticipate the investigation into the summer of 2014. Do you anticipate that they might be able to, depending on what they do find, that they might be able to also have construct a plan as far as how to get rid of it or how to?
Yeah, and they were very upfront about it. That depending on what they find, it could be, yes, they can develop a plan. The downside is that plan may be, there's much you can do about it.
Right.
I hate to say it that way, but that may be one option, is that it is not cost effective to try to correct. Or it may be cost effective. There may be some options out there, and we will work with them on that.
And because all of us are new, even Sam, 9 years, relatively new when it comes to how long that stuff's been out there, have we ever engaged in a study to this extent that you can recall? That nothing.
Not regarding this item, not in my 15 years. We've talked about it.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Tried different things on our own to correct it, utilizing United Water. It was a good idea, it just didn't work. And not through their fault, it's just the nature of the material. Would we like to? The other thing is, and that was kind of the key, and this is why it was channeled to us through the District Health Department number 4. There may be some grant dollars out there that we can access, but you need to have the beach remediation plan in place in advance. As an example, a beach cleaner. Now, a beach remediation plan could include acquisition of a better beach cleaner that can do a better job, et cetera. So that may open the door for some funding for that. And that was one of the key things, is that this is kind of the first step in. Then you can go to the funding agency and say, look, we've got this is what we need to do.
I would suggest, just based on this past year, the rain event was in late June, that the timeline, whenever the clock starts ticking on this study, should not start until at least after some warm weather and the first significant rain event.
Yeah, there's some of the preliminary stuff, some of the background information they can gather. But yes, when it comes time to actually looking at the material, doing an investigation of it, then that's the time to do it.
I fear we are confusing the issue a little bit, and that I don't think any of us would debate. We need to figure out what the deal is. All you have to do is go to press deal or else in the there's a difference. So what you're really asking is for the variance. For me, I guess if a bid came in cheaper or comparable, I'm probably gonna come back and see that the MDEQ and the National Guard were comfortable with what ECT anyway. I think that, the quality of their proposal and staff's recommendation, I mean, I would be comfortable with the variance. I don't think we've done that, have we, since we've been here? So that is a rare occasion. And I guess I'm comfortable enough with it, and I think we all know we need to do something, and I trust staff and the MDEQ when it comes to this recommendation.
And I guess for me, I agree with you on the same fact that I'm obviously champion of the multiple bids and such, but after reading this over and reading the proposal and, the nature of the project and the education that it could provide us to make, either receive a grant or make better decisions for the beach in the future, I think this is also a good idea. We spend an awful lot of money trying to get people here, and I would never want to see one trip to the beach make them decide that they don't want to come back, because it looked pretty bad in this last year, and I think we should do everything we can to understand what's going on and clean the beach up.
And if allowed the variance, you won't be bringing this back, right?
No, if you approve the contract,
then
and
you'll go ahead with
then
it.
it would.
So I guess my only other question was where this is coming from.
He asked that it come out of fund balance, and so that would also be
Oh,
within the
that was
approval.
in the report, I'm sorry.
Would have to approve that included in his request, yep, in his motion,
as far as where it comes from.
Okay.
because it was not budgeted.
It isn't often enough for that either. I like budgeted programs. This is a good one.
So if somebody wants to tie all that in, to a motion.
I move we allow a variance from CPS number 18 to be taken from the fund balance.
And to authorize the contract with
ECT.
ECT.
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Tyler?
Yes.
Thank you, Rich and Greg. Karen. Okay, our new business is resolution number 2013-17, a resolution adopting the 2013 comprehensive plan for the city of Alpena. And we have Adam Pohl.
Indeed. Well, at the end of November, I sent you all an email with the draft comp plan, and just a little light reading for you, because it's only a couple hundred pages or so. But state law requires that we update the comprehensive plan every 5 years. So it was adopted in 2007, so this is the scheduled update. Work started on this 2 years ago, back in October of 2010. The Planning Commission started, Greg and the Planning Commission started getting everything together. Basically, the process is you guys received a draft copy back in May, and you looked that over. There have been, what happens after that is we sent out the draft copy to various entities, including Alpena County, Alpena Township, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, Target Alpena, the DDA, Alpena Community College, Lake State Railway, Public Utilities, and further review. And we asked them for comments. Comments were received from Cindy Johnson, the Alpena County Planning Commission, and the Michigan Department, MDOT. And most of those changes that they recommended were incorporated in the document. Some of them were not, but most of them were. Most were fairly minor. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing back in Tuesday, November 12th. And following the public hearing, the Planning Commission voted 8-0 to approve the updated comprehensive plan. So most of the changes from the original were in Chapter 8. I did include that in your packet. Obviously, it's a long document, just Chapter 8 by itself. But basically, to summarize what most of the changes were, there have been quite a few changes in the last 5 years as far as we have a lot of new data with the new census out. We had some changes such as the State of Michigan EBIT program, things of that nature. So a lot of changes were to reflect that, and obviously, chapter has sent you goals and objectives a lot of those goals were met, a lot of which we have new goals for, and it's just, well, I don't know if it's a new goal, but it's in there. And it's something that we wanted to identify, so we wanted to get those goals and objectives updated. So we did, or the planning commission did a lot of work on that as well. As a lot of other entities, at this time I would like to thank the planning commission for their hours, for their many hours and extra meetings they attended over the course of the last 2 years, as well as the NEMCOG staff who we partnered with to create updated documents, and the many citizens that participated in the community visioning session and focus group, and as well as the city staff prior to myself for really doing the bulk work process. And through their participation, we have developed a plan that hopefully will serve the city for years to come.
Thank you, Adam. It was an incredible document, to say the least.
Did they warn you that you have to read that before we adopt it?
Well, you guys have to sit and listen. I'm okay with that if you are.
Can I ask you a couple of questions real quick, Adam?
Certainly.
Well, it's not called a comprehensive plan for nothing, is it?
No.
Yeah, we accomplished everything in there, we'd all be superstars, but considering how much is there, is there any plan or sentiment to prioritize some of those goals, to say, here's some goals we can realistically do in 1 year, or 2 years, or 5 years?
Actually, it's funny that you asked that question. Obviously, it is a comprehensive plan, and we do consider everything in there important. However, I addressed my planning commission back in November when we initially adopted this. I asked them to go through the different goals, categories of goals and objectives, and really specify the ones that they individually thought were not only important, because obviously it's all important, but could be accomplished realistically in the next 12 to 24 months. And I did receive responses back from a number of them, and I did get them to them at the December meeting. At that point, there was the discussion was generally they wanted to review the other planning commission members' responses. And what the intent is to at the January planning commission meeting to sit down and try to find at least 1 or 2 or maybe 3 goals in each category that are tangible and can be hopefully accomplished within the next 12 to 24 months. Because a lot of the goals are very, I'm just going to say general, but a lot of the action items especially are certainly can be accomplished. And I asked them for, I would guess you would say, priority as far as what they really, with our limited staff, what we really want to focus on.
And would it be fair or feasible to ask you to kind of review that once a year to say, here's what we've met, and not what we haven't, but to highlight maybe some of the things that were met?
Absolutely, and I think one of the other things that the planning staff is going to be doing hopefully in the near future is we're going to be giving you an annual report. I'm thinking we're going to probably be doing that probably late January or February of every year, and we're going to hopefully be able to run that down and kind of talk to you about what the priorities were and what goals were accomplished. So at this point, we're early in the process. So.
And I know that you understand that it's flexible. It's a vision, and it ebbs and flows over time. Was there any thought to maybe having a short preamble at the beginning, so when citizens look at that, they understand it's not a concrete, inflexible plan, and it's more of a general vision, or is it there? Maybe I didn't see that. Or
well, I mean, there's a lot there, obviously, and
I guess I could jump in since I was involved much longer than Adam was. He's kind of coming at the end and putting the pieces all together to get it finalized. Pardon?
Taking credit.
Job well done.
Yeah, that's okay, because he's also going to do the work. And one thing I can say is, no, I don't know that that's there, and it's a good thought that we probably should have done, and certainly with the next update, which there will be continual updates, that's something that we can make sure we do. But and it may be some general statement, but perhaps not what you're talking about. The other thing I wanted to say is that what you're talking about of prioritizing and then looking at and reporting to council, what has been accomplished, is one of the things that I looked at, and when Adam came on board, I said, well, here's one of these, a couple of the shortcomings that I had with the comprehensive plan that I had. because we didn't do that. And that fell on me, the fact that we didn't. But I said, I want you to do that, because it is important. And therefore, we will see that in the future. That each year, asking the planning commission, with Paul's leadership, to do that prioritization, and then reporting on what we have accomplished, not only on the comp plan, but on other things regarding cases that they've dealt with and zoning planning issues beyond, the comprehensive plan itself. So that, I think, is an important thing to do each year, and though I didn't do it, I am going to be asking my replacement to do that, and the one to better me by that much, and that's important.
Yeah, something I'd like to see, you read through these action items, they're enough to make you want to stop reading them after a while. I mean, there's a lot of them, and you're going to go through them and you're going to prioritize what you're going to do, and Paul Sabrin is here as well, the chairman of the planning commission. The planning commission isn't going to do all of these action items. I don't think that it's the planning commission, those people that actually do all of these action items. So you're going to be kind of delving them off. The DDA might be responsible for this, the rec committee might be responsible for that. If you can maybe use council a little bit more as a tool to get these done. We have a lot of committees that we sit on. I quite honestly sit on 2 committees that I haven't met yet. I've sat in this chair for 2 years. And it's not so much that, it's just maybe some of our committees have lost direction, and I'll say that I haven't met because, it's quite frankly, we haven't met. And some of them that we have met, we've gone over some things, but some of it never really gets rolling as far as what we're supposed to do. So I guess what I'm saying is if you come on some action items and some things that are prioritized or priorities, bring them back to council, bring them to us, where we each sit on several of these committees that are, that were established from this sign back here. And if it's something that needs to be addressed, or, come and address us and say, hey, we'd like such and such committee that was designed from your plan to meet and take on this action item. And that'll kind of get us push forward as well. So you're not, trying to do this whole thing without the people that are supposed to be. So if that makes any sense. So
Certainly.
come back and tell us what to do.
Absolutely. The planning commission is hearing right now. A number of them are here today, and we'll certainly discuss that, and I can share our findings.
I appreciate that.
So you guys did a great job with it. I don't remember reading too many items where I disagreed with, the goals, and it's a lot in there. So I think that's a tribute to the planning commission to come up with that many action items and that many goals that university would benefit the communities. You guys did an awesome job.
One of the things that I do with the corporation that I work with is every December we put together what's called our AROP forms, which is we have to list out our accomplishments, our regrets, our opportunities, and our priorities for the coming year. It's a great form. We use it all the time. We have to list out everything. It really helps us develop the action plans that can put into motion all of these great things that you have in here. So something Greg and I have talked about briefly, it's something I use with all the different departments within the corporation, and everyone has to come and report on it too. It really keeps us all focused on that, and it can all point back to this document and what we want to accomplish as a council.
I just want to congratulate you on being so timely with all this. There's several instances of placemaking, access and linkages. And those things are new in Michigan cities. All of these things are just new ideas, new wording, and it's all in here. And I do appreciate that. We're caught up with other guys. It's nice, very nice.
Once again, I'll deflect that one to the planning commission and NEMCOG, who did the vast majority of the work on, pretty much all the work on all of this. So it was their efforts that were able to do that.
Excellent. Adopt.
We approve resolution 2013-17, 2013 comprehensive plan.
Second that.
Noah?
Big yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Tyler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Thank you, Adam.
Move adjourned.
To close.
To close session.
Sexton? Walagora? Tyler?
Yes.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
You are watching All About Alpena.